Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back here with the Varus basic guide. Now Varus is probably the most versatile ADC out of them all in terms of builds. He can go full crit, on hit, full lethality, as well as going full AP burst, and all of the builds change his playstyle completely. He's even able to go for half and half builds, like for example half lethality, half AP, or you could go something like half on hit and half AP. You could even start off with half AP and then later on, go on to like half on hit, something like that. Basically, Varus has the most viable builds in terms of ADCs. When he plays as a lethality marksman, he has really strong poke, really long range, and really good at poking enemies down before team fights. When he plays full AP, he becomes something like a burst. He becomes almost like a burst mage where you basically can one-shot someone 100 to 0. Whereas when he plays something like crit or on hit, he becomes a very fast, high-speed attacking ADC, much like the other ADCs, that's also capable of doing a lot of damage to tanks. So really, Varus is one of the most versatile ADCs. He does lack mobility, however, he makes up for it with long range and a huge teamfight ultimate which provides CC and can spread to multiple enemies to root them in place. So, let's now jump into the practice tool and take a look at his skills and abilities. So as usual, the first thing we're going to cover is his passive. So his passive is relatively straightforward. Basically what it does is when you kill a champion, it gives you 60% attack speed, and when you kill like minions, it gives you 30% attack speed. Now obviously I cannot demonstrate with killing a champion. I could if I bring the AI bot here, but that's a little bit of a waste of time. But we're instead going to show you what happens when he kills minions. So remember, when he kills actually it's not just minions, it's non-champions, so it could be monsters as well. So for example, we're gonna show here, when you kill this minion, you can see that he suddenly attacks a little bit faster. You can see his bow lights up as well, and it's for 5 seconds, so you can see he's attacking faster here. And now that I didn't kill that minion, I didn't get the last hit, I'm attacking slowly. So that is basically his passive. Now we're going to talk about his Q. So his Q is pretty straightforward. It is a skill shot like that. And when you press and hold it, for every, the longer you hold, the longer its range is going to be, and the higher its damage. So for example here, that full charge one did 72 damage, whereas this instant release one does 46 damage. So once again, you guys can see, the longer you hold, the longer range, and the more damage you're going to do. You can hold it for a while, but after you hold it at maximum range for a while, it's going to time out and it's going to go on half cooldown. So when you're holding it, you guys can see this is my normal movement speed. When you're holding it, your movement speed is decreased by 30% when you're drawing back the bow. So next we're going to talk about his W, but before we do that, let's just get all our abilities first. So next we're going to talk about his W. So his W has a passive and an active. So passively, whenever you attack someone, they are marked with blight. You can see those two like purple things flying around the dummy, that's the blight. So here you attack once, you have 1 blight, and here you can stack up to 3 blight. The other thing that it does is also it gives you some on-hit magic damage. So you can see that here I'm doing 6 on-hit magic damage in addition to my 51 damage. Now activating it, basically what it allows you to do is it doubles the on-hit magic damage you do. So here when I'm pressing it, I do 12 instead, and when you detonate this blight like that, it deals a huge burst of damage. So what it also does is, in addition to that, it also enhances your Q. So you can see that when you actually activate, your next piercing arrow will deal bonus magic damage equal to 10 to 20% of the target's maximum health. So of course 10% is if it's at base, if you launch the piercing arrow without charging. 20% is when you max charge the piercing arrow. And of course when you normally detonate blight, you're doing percent max health damage as well. So he does fare pretty effectively against tanks. So here we're going to demonstrate it once again. So here we activate it to deal double the damage in terms of the on hit, and here we're going to max charge. You can see, boom, it's a burst of damage onto the enemy. So his E is a targeted AoE ability, hits everybody in the area. So here what it does is basically it does damage to everybody in the area. We're going to actually demonstrate that by putting a little bit more dummies over here. And it leaves a pool that causes enemies to have grievous wounds for 4 seconds. So the grievous wounds is really effective, of course, for cutting healing. So if you're up against a Yumi and such, you don't actually need to build executioners. You just need to toss your E on top of whoever it is that you need the healing cut. Now, another thing I forgot to really point out is that when you cast your Q, it does full damage to the first target, but less damage to targets behind. So you can see on my first target I did 113 damage, and on the target behind I did only 98 damage. Not a big difference in damage, but it is something to take note of. You do less damage to consecutive targets that you hit. And finally, you have your ult, the Chain of Corruption. Basically what it does is it's a skill shot, relatively short range. It roots the first enemy it hits, and of course it can miss. So if you whiff it, you can miss it. And if you hit an enemy, what it does is basically it roots them for a while and it applies bite stacks. And you can see after a few seconds, it does spread to other enemies around. So once again, you guys can see on this. Actually, let me just put a different dummy over here. So you can see if, for example, I use it on one person, it does damage and then it roots them as well as slowly increasing bite stacks. Of course, you can detonate that afterwards. But if there are enemies around it, you can go ahead and spread your ulti. So if it spreads from one enemy to another. So for example, if I start off with this guy all the way to the right, it can spread slowly. Actually, I hit the wrong guy. But if I start with this guy on the right, actually that guy is kind of barely in range. So let me try to put one guy a little bit further here. It can spread multiple times is my point. So actually maybe not that far, but let me just put another guy here. So if I hit this guy over here, it can spread to these two people over here, and then from these two people over here, it can spread to this guy over here. So it can spread over long distances. Every time a new person gets infected with the ulti, it can spread again to the following person. So his ulti is kind of complicated, but yeah, that is how it works. So now that we've gone over all of those, let's talk a little bit about his leveling order. So we're going to reset level here. Now, on level 1, I normally, it's kind of really up to you which one you're going to take between Q and E. I normally like to take Q personally, but I do know that some people do like to take their E instead. They like to start off with their E, but either way, on level 2, you generally want to take the other one, because in laning phase, regardless of which build you're using, even AP builds, your W is not going to do very much at early levels. Then of course you take your W. Now maxing is a little bit of a challenge. It kind of depends on which build you're going. So if you're going for lethality, you want to max Q first. However, if you're going for like on hit or like crit or AP, you want to max your W. So basically you max your W unless you're going lethality, and in which case you max your Q. So whichever one you go for, you max the Q/W second. You want to max E last in all instances because your E is the least worth to put skill points into. So you max your E last. Okay, so next up, we're going to go over his combos. And Varus has only one main combo, and basically this combo involves starting with your R. So you basically want to R, W, auto, and then Q. That's it, basically your combo. And how long you want to charge your Q depends on what kind of build you're going for. If you're going for something like AP or lethality, you want to charge your Q for longer. So that will be like R, W, auto, full charge Q, and you release it right before the root runs out. Because if you release it after the root runs out, they can flash it. So you basically want to RW auto, charge your Q right before the root runs out, release it so you can actually do hit them guaranteed and they won't actually manage to flash out. However, if you're going for like on hit or crit, charging your Q becomes not so important because you're actually losing damage when you're charging your Q, because you want to be auto attacking as much as possible. So basically, instead, what you actually want to do here is, let me let that stack of blight fall off. What you want to do is actually you just want to RW auto, and then you want to just Q straight away and continue attacking. So because your main damage, if you're going for on hit or not lethality, if you're going for on hit or crit, it's mainly from your auto attack. So you basically just want to do this and then you just continue attacking like that, and then you just cast your Q instant whenever it's up again. And yeah, that's basically Varus's main combos. And finally, last but not least, we're going to talk a little bit about tips and tricks for Varus. So the first tip and trick I have for you guys is, For example, if the fight is happening near minions, and let's say I'm fighting this guy, and I spot a minion that's low here. So what I can actually do is I can hit that minion to get the attack speed from the minion kill. So like that, I kill the minion, I get attack speed. You know, I kill the minion, and get attack speed. Of course, you don't want to Q the minion, but if you're in range to auto attack minions, you can auto attack minions to get the attack speed to fight your enemies more easily. So the next tip and trick I have is about when to instant cast your Q and when to press and hold Q. This mainly has to do with what type of build you're going for. So once again, if you're going for on hit or you're going for crit, you generally never want to hold Q. Like unless you're poking an enemy from like this kind of range where you can't basic attack them, you maybe want to hold Q. But if you're in like this kind of range or like somewhere around here, you basically just want to like just launch your Q instant, and then you just want to attack them normally using your basic attacks. Or you could like press and hold a little bit to aim, and then you just let go. You don't want to press and hold for the full like channel and let go, because that's a waste of damage. If you're going for lethality, or if you're going for AP, you generally, or if you're going for lethality, you always want to press and hold your Q and maximum launch it. If you're going for AP, when someone has maximum stacks of blight, you do want to press and hold Q and detonate the blight. Or actually, as a matter of fact, you could actually just insta release your Q as well, even if you're going for AP. So mainly it's only lethality that you have to like charge your Q to the maximum. So next thing is, if you're going for crit or if you're going for any build really, but it's more important for on hit and crit, you want to remember to use your W, because it doubles your active damage, the active magic damage you do to them. And sometimes people only really max stack and they only W when they want to Q, and I made this mistake a lot when I was initially playing Varus. I thought that his W was only for that purpose, but when you're auto attacking, you can also pop W to get increased auto attack damage. And finally, the last tip has to do with your ultimate. Now, your ultimate, generally, the best way to use it is onto a squishy target. So let's say if this is a team fight, let's say this is the enemy marksman and these are like tanks. You want, of course, get the ultimate onto the enemy marksman, but as you guys can see, sometimes you do get blocked. But what I'm trying to tell you here is that it's not a big deal, because of the fact you actually do percent max health damage. It's okay to, like, for example, ult the tank over here and let it slowly spread to the enemy marksman, and eventually it's gonna spread there, and you will still get it onto the marksman. However, another reason you want to, for example, using the marksman, let's say if this guy is an enemy Leona or Nautilus, you see them walking towards you, they obviously want to engage. So what you can do is you just instantly ult them and run away. You don't always have to use it aggressively, you can use it defensively as a peel tool as well. And the last tip I want to give to you guys is, you guys know that the ultimate spreads, you guys can see it spreads from target to target. However, something that you guys may not know is that if a new target enters the zone after the ultimate has already spread, it doesn't actually count. So for example, if I ult this guy and a new guy walks into the zone like this, it's not going to spread to this guy. However, if he's already in the zone, it is of course going to spread to him. So this is important both playing as and against Varus. So for example, if you see like someone far away, like for example these people are far away, and you hit these people, you know that these people will never be able to get hit by the ulti. However, if you're playing against Varus, you know that, for example, if you are here and he's just ulted your teammates, you know that if you wait for the ult to spread and then you walk in, you're not gonna get hit by Varus's ulti. So that's of course a really important detail. So that's pretty much it for the Varus basic guide. Of course, stay tuned for the upcoming Varus complete guides on the various Varus builds coming, upcoming videos from me. So thank you guys for watching the video, and goodbye.